We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
What if I told you there's nothing wrong with you if every time it's time to sit down and focus or hone in on a project, you start to get really tired or start feeling sleepy? I just had to dig into this and do some research because this happens to me. So, like, let's say you sit down to read a book, and a few pages in, you're near falling asleep, or you get really, really excited about a new project idea. And then when it comes down to really like focus and do the tedious work to get there, you lose interest or start feeling really tired. Tell me I'm not alone in this. And if you're with me, I want you to know that we are not lazy or unmotivated, and there's nothing actually wrong with us. It's actually super common. And I was honestly relieved to hear this because I felt like maybe I just wasn't wanting to like do the things that it took to reach some of my goals. And there's a reason for it. So, we're going to talk about why this actually happens and what we can do to shift it so we can actually take some of the power back. So, what's really happening here in our brain and our body when we start to focus and feel sleepy? Well, when you think about focus, it takes another level of energy, right? And focusing is a very cognitively demanding task. It requires us to really concentrate and be effortful in what we're doing, right? And when other things are going on in our life, our nervous system may already feel taxed or obviously we all have numerous things going on in our lives, numerous different responsibilities and things to pay attention to, just our world in general. There's so much going on. And so when our nervous system is already taxed and our energy is already being used up by other things, this amount of effort to focus can start triggering a shutdown signal in our brain. Let's talk about the role of the nervous system. There are times we are in, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, dealing with different levels of stress. And there are times we're regulated. If our system is already leaning towards any amount of shutdown due to the everyday life, stress, fatigue, overwhelm, an intense amount of focus can start really draining the last bits of energy that we had. And sometimes, now this one really surprised me, but our brains can associate focus, especially let's say you're working on like self growth and reading, with discomfort or threat. It might feel like pressure, or maybe we're reading about something that we're not quite good at yet, or or feeling bad about ourselves in any way, that perfectionism or thoughts about past failure can start to really deplete our energy as well. And specifically with reading, something can happen because we're not always reading like self growth, right? Or reading about ways to be better. Sometimes we're reading like a story or studying for school. And our body can start to relax and rest. Maybe we're sitting somewhere comfortable, probably in bed or on the couch or on a really comfy chair. Perhaps most or all of our body is supported by comfy pillows and cushions and blankets, and our brain associates that with sleepiness. So, of course, then we start feeling more sleepy when that's happening. And when the brain does that, it can start creating those neural pathways where focus time can start meaning, oh, finally I can relax. And then your brain starts asking for sleep instead of staying focused. I just find this so interesting because I am a really big reader and I listen to just as many books, well, probably more than actually reading physical books. But I have so many physical books and I do read a lot of them, and I'm, constantly reading, but I do move through the physical books slower at times and I have to section it out. So in the morning I read, in the evening I read, sometimes midday breaks I'll read, and then on the weekends. But whenever I do, I'm never able to sit and read for too long without starting to feel really sleepy, and I have to get up and move around or take breaks because otherwise I'll be falling asleep. Now, before bed, of course, that's exactly what we want to happen, right? I'll read on the couch until I'm sleepy and then go into bed, and it really helps get my mind and body rested and down regulated to a place where I can sleep much better. But obviously in the morning when I'm reading for leisure, for learning, for pleasure, and I don't necessarily want to be falling back asleep early in the morning when I still have an entire day ahead of me. We can also have resistance come up when it's time to focus on, let's say, a project, or I know I've talked a lot about reading, but let's say it's time to do something mundane, like writing for something, or building out an outline, or doing research for a new project, or starting to dig into a part of the project that requires a lot of your energy, but you don't necessarily like. That resistance can come up. And because that resistance is there, it can show up as tiredness. So if you're thinking, like, I don't want to deal with this, it can become, well, now I'm too tired. So the body is actually helping you avoid it and resist it by creating the actual feeling of being tired. So if this happens to you, or you have noticed patterns like these in the past, with anything you have wanted a little bit more time and energy for to get done without feeling sleepy or wanting to quit or actually falling asleep, you'll be glad to know that there are things that we can do about this. So I talked about these neural pathways that our brain creates. We can actually break those associations in the brain. So we can change our environments, our posture, of where we are working or reading. Let's say, like, if you're, trying to work on the couch and you nap on the couch or you relax on the couch in the evening before bed, and that's where you're getting really sleepy, that's going to signal to your brain that that's a place to get more sleepy. So we do have to change that environment up to create new associations and kind of create new connections in the brain of what different locations mean and what they're for. You could try standing or even sitting differently. You could use a different room in the house if you have other rooms to choose from. You could use a different chair. You could even get up and go to an entirely new location. Some people love going to certain places like a coffee shop or an office or a conference room to really get your focus time in. And when you do that, though, the key is consistency. You want to make that your focus only zone where you're doing results driven work. And the more you do that, the easier it's going to get because the stronger that pathway will become. And we can also take advantage of our natural energy rhythm. So, like I was saying earlier, I like to kind of read in chunks, and that helps me break it up. I can leverage times that I have more energy. So, if there's a time in the day where you know you have more energy, block that off on your calendar and save that for what it is you want to focus on and have your results driven work be done within. So a lot of this is like coming back to self-awareness of really understanding yourself. And if you don't know, it's okay to take a few days or even a few weeks and start logging, like in a journal. How is your energy in the morning? How is it in the afternoon? How is it in the evening? Right? Like breaking that down, and you can break it down far deeper than morning, midday and evening. You can look at the exact times. Like maybe every day at 11:30, you have a burst of energy. Leverage that, jump on that wave and use that to your advantage. And when I talk about like using short stints of time, you can set a timer. I love doing this when I need to get something done that is not a specific result I'm creating, but I'm working on something. Like, let's say I'm writing something out or working on something in a queue, or I am digging into KPIs at work. You can set a timer so that it is right in front of you. And you know that while that timer is going, you're not checking your phone. You are not giving into any other distractions. You are shutting the doors. You are letting others know that you're not available for this amount of time. And while that timer is going, you are doing nothing but this one thing. And that also helps actually train your brain to focus better, which I love. And we talked about our nervous system earlier, but I want to say that we can also find ways to support our nervous system for focus. So I talked about, getting up and moving around. You can stand up and do some jumping jacks right before you sit down to focus on your work. You can, shake your arms and legs or do some, good breath work and some good deep breaths to get that oxygen to your brain and get the blood flowing so that you are alert and focused. Maybe you set some music that helps you feel energized and excited, whatever that is for you. Maybe brighter lights. And if you don't have windows to open and blinds and curtains to open to bring in natural light, maybe you have a sunlight or a sun lamp that you can turn on or some bright lights inside the house. There could even be a scent. Like I know for me, lemon is always really energizing. Even drinking lemon water is really nice. Or like smelling flowers can get me kind of up and alert and focused. For me, every morning, I always like to light candles in my home and play kind of a nice, gentle morning music. And I've done that for so long that it is a natural cue in my brain that this is a time to gently and slowly wake up, get the body moving, get the blood flowing, and that it's time to start getting things done. So we can use those connections to our advantage too for scent and smell and sound and all of that. And also just shifting how we think about the focus time. If you're going in with a sense of dread, how do you think it's going to feel? Right. It's like, oh, I have to do this and oh, the drudgery, right? It's not going to be very fun. And that signals to the brain to then send more signals of resistance. And when we have resistance, we can feel more tired, right? We talked about that. And so what about what you're doing can feel more engaging or more exciting? Like, maybe you don't want to do the thing. Maybe you're doing your taxes and you are doing the prep work for your taxes, but then you get to feel the weight lifted of getting past that deadline, knowing you took care of it and that you are not going to be hunted down by the IRS, right? So shifting what you'll get out of it, or if it's a project for work and you don't want to do the research and it feels draining and heavy to you, what can you learn from it? What do you get to explore? What is there anything that you can learn from that that helps you in your personal life or your own, just personal knowledge? Does it help you for anything in the future that excites you? So thinking about those things can also really help. Just kind of shifting to something that feels valuable and safe and comfortable, that doesn't feel so pressured or like it's forced on you by anyone else or anything else that you're not excited about. The other thing that can be really helpful too is like anticipating that this will happen, right? So a lot of times when we talk about project planning and goal setting, anticipating that there will be obstacles is a big part of that because then you're ready. Then you know how to work around it. So if you know that going into focus time and going into reading or a project or research is going to bring on this sense of sleepiness or feeling of tired, you already know that it's coming and you can be prepared. So when that feeling comes on, maybe your plan is to pause, get up, stretch, take a drink of cold lemon water, right? Something like that. Do some jumping jacks, step outside. I love to get fresh air when I'm feeling tired versus just pushing through. Because a lot of times, too, when we push through, we get more resistance. Central nervous system becomes more aggravated and stimulated. We're using more energy, and the brain will signal more feelings of being tired. And it's okay to tell your body and your brain that you're okay, that we're fine. This is time to focus. We're doing great, right? Like it's okay to give yourself a little bit of a pep talk and reassure yourself that you're doing good. Maybe you talk through that while you're doing some stretches and breathing to wake yourself back up. And there is nothing wrong with rewarding yourself if there is something that you want to reward yourself with at the end of that timer. Like we talked about having that timer set. Let's say you have 30 minutes of focus time, 25 minutes of focus time, whatever it is. What do you get to do at the end of that? Do you get to go outside and go for a walk? Do you get to go play with the dogs? Do you make yourself a cup of coffee? Right? Like it can be whatever it is that motivates you or gets you excited. But again, that's signaling to the brain that there's something to look forward to and it will create more energy because it's working towards something versus bringing up that resistance again. So if you're like me and you feel sleepy or tired when it's time to focus, there's nothing wrong with you and you're not alone. And there's something that you can do about it. Your body is so good at protecting you. Your body and brain use the tools that they have to take care of you. And so knowing that's all they're doing, and the good news is we can leverage that once we understand how it works to rewire our response to curiosity, consistency, and start making those small shifts that really support what we want to work on and move towards and to support that person that we're all becoming. So I'm super proud of you for continuing this path and taking care of yourself and continuing to show up with me here and everywhere else you are in your life to continue learning and growing as a human because that is truly how we get to where we want to go. A lot of times we think that, you know, we want something and having it will be the same person on the other side, but it really does take becoming a new person or becoming a new version of this person that we are in order to get there. Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world, and as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.